I think, Steve, most people, the reason they're afraid of credit in general or money in general is they don't know what to put it to. And here in the US, you can't do without credit. What does Jay-Z says in the song? If you want to know how to control and own everything, credit is something that is meant to be leveraged.
When you're going to build your cars, go get savings secured cars. They are still the lowest totem pole and everything. It's pretty much when you use your own money as collateral for the credit card. Even if you got a $2,000 credit card and you've had it for 8 years, do not close that card down, even if it's not high limit. There's two things that banks always look at when they go to look at your credit report: your history. The second thing is your credit mix.
Welcome on today's Boom Effect podcast.
Yes, sir.
The Boom stands for obviously being bold, being obsessed, being optimistic, and lastly, having a mindset that's abundant. And today I am with 23-year-old young entrepreneur, Mr. Stephen Blow himself.
Okay.
And I just heard lately that if I want $150,000 at 0% within a 90-day span on average,
Right.
I can literally just come to you.
Yep.
And if I talk to you, you'll get me funded for whatever business idea I have.
100%.
Whether that be real estate like we do, whether that be opening a salon, whether that be maybe opening a car business, whatever I'm interested in opening into, the number one problem that everybody has is capital.
Right.
If you don't have an uncle that want to fund you, Bill Gates is not your uncle. You can just come to Steve.
Yep, 100%. You can come to Steve, and Steve will get you 150 within the first 90 days.
There you go, guys. So that's exactly what we're going to talk about today, guys. We're going to talk about credit.
Okay.
We're going to talk about business funding.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to talk about like I'm absolutely clueless, which I was up to like maybe about 12 months ago when we were in the middle of transitioning our business. We started looking into a couple of different, strategies we want to focus on.
100%.
How do we want to scale? Obviously, any business, the number one issue you run into maybe is outside of the human capital is actually the money capital.
Oh, 100%.
The money capital. And I have the perfect book in the middle today for this topic, guys. It's called The Creature from Jekyll Island.
Yeah.
If you've never read this, you absolutely have to read it if you want to understand how the Federal Reserve works, how money works. But this hits home, right? Guys, I'm going to introduce you guys to this guest. This is obviously my brother, but just for you guys, you probably never met him. You don't know him. His name is Stephen Blow, and he's 23. When I met him, he was 21 or 22.
Yeah, I was 21.
He was 21 when I met him the first time. At 21, Steve already had a 100+ credit score.
Yep.
I remember this vividly because he was the first one to tell me he don't play about his credit. And I was very impressed, even though I don't understand credit, because one of the niches I used to focus on, wrongly, my fault, was no money down strategies, scrambling, begging sellers to become my bank. But he always kept his credit over 800 credit score. And if you guys know anything about the US financial system or the economic system, you can separate the neighborhoods.
Yep.
Yesterday, I found this website where if you want to know if you live in a good neighborhood, there's this website you can go in and plug in your zip code, and you'll see if you're in the shitty neighborhood based on the credit score of the locals, or if you're in a really nice neighborhood. I'll give it to you later. I'll put it in the link below, guys. Okay, so if you stay all the way to the end and you put a comment below, I'll literally send you that website. You can actually do it. Yeah, that's a real thing. So,
that's crazy.
With that being said, I remember when I met you, guys, he don't only do credit. Not only he can fund you, but he's an actual real estate developer. Because obviously, if you get the capital, if you don't know what to put it to, is completely useless. And I think, Steve, most people, the reason they're afraid of credit in general or money in general is they don't know what to put it to. So we're going to address that later. We're going to talk about the vehicles you can put into. But talk to me, bro, like, where does your mindset come from at 21? Because I remember at that age, I was in the clubs. I was chasing the girls.
I agree.
So I was really impressed with you. That's how you became my brother. It's like, at this age, you're looking to network. You know about credit. Your credit is in fantastic shape.
Agreed.
You do real estate deals at 21, and now you're 23. So you went from wholesaling, fix and flips, buying rentals, to now doing real estate new development. And your knowledge of credit and business funding is what propels you to this. Like, where does that come from?
Honestly, like I told you, sometimes you just don't understand where you get most of your knowledge from. Growing up, I guess my dad's side of the family had a lot of people that were in the business realm. And I guess I kind of picked up on it from a young age.
Okay.
And just
Proximity.
Yeah, proximity.
Okay.
So proximity is everything. Just kind of being around those guys. And as I was coming up, again, you already know my background story. For you guys don't know, like I said, I was on house arrest before I even jumped into real estate. And, I just had a pretty bad past, but that's for another podcast.
Everybody has.
Of course. So yeah, just coming from that, just getting around the right people, putting myself in the right room, speaking with the right people. My first event I went to was a Than Mero event. Met the right guys and ended up getting my jump start into real estate. And
that was a real estate event.
That was actually a real estate event with Than Mero.
But so when you talked about your dad, is there anybody within your family circle or friend circle that said, hey, dude, credit is important? Because I'm trying to go back to the credit.
Okay.
And the reason for that is, we're going to talk about the real estate
of course.
later. Here in the U.S., crime rates are linked to low credit.
Oh, 100%.
Okay, poverty are linked to credit.
Of course.
The whole system is built on, obviously, fractional banking. You guys can do your own research. I'm not going to go into details about that. But outside of that, what I'm learning now, being with you and you funding all of our LLCs and funding all the students within our community, is when you are here in the U.S., you're either operating as an individual.
Agreed.
And you shouldn't.
Which is the worst thing to do.
Exactly. Or you set up your personal individual credit and credit profile, not just a score.
Agreed.
To where your goal is to become either a corporation or an LLC. And then every single time you walk into the bank and you say, give me money, you're never walking in as Stephen Blow. You're walking in as an entity.
Agreed.
Okay. So we're going to break all these things down later, but take me back to the credit part. Who's the first person that talked to you about credit or helped you fix your credit and then you became aware to where, because bro, at 21, I was in that discipline to where I was splurging on clothing stores, watches. I was looking up to them Diddy, music videos.
Yeah.
And so that put me in a lot of bad debt at a very young age because there was nobody next to me telling me, dude, be responsible with your finances.
Yeah.
So talk to me, bro, about how did you become that financially responsible at that age and have an 800 plus credit score?
100%. So I'm going to go take this back to my mother, right?
Oh.
The very first person. Love you, mom. So I'm going to take it back to my mother. Okay. And she knows. Coming up, I did see my mother have some great financial discipline. Like even from the little things I used to see her do, like she used to have this bookkeeping book. She never tracked anything at an Excel sheet at the time. So she used to have everything.
That's the type of moms.
Right? Okay. So I didn't even realize I picked it up from her. She used to have a book where she used to do all her checks and balances, even for her credit cards. Now, she never sat down to actually teach us about the importance of credit cards, how they work and how they operate it. Because a lot of people, when they come in, they're ignorant. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. Which they know. I'm saying that more in a way where we're not taught how credit cards work, that you're supposed to use these credit cards.
You're not stupid. You just don't know.
Yeah, you just don't know. So a lot of times we're not taught to use these credit cards to go out and go make money. We used to teach them to kind of cover the bills for the 3 or 4 months that we can't.
Okay.
So for my mom, it was more so one of those things where I used to see her do checks and balances. She used to sit down and, go over her credit card debt and everything. She never leveraged it on her business side until later on in life. But I think that's why I first got my start off into credit. It's just kind of seeing her do her checks and balances and stuff. Even the Amex card. I remember the first time I seen the metal Amex card and seen it hit the table. I was like, man, I gotta
get seeing that with whom?
Yeah, my mom. She got a gold Amex card. I'm like, bro, what is this card different from my, regular card?
It's funny that you brought up your mom.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is because it's obviously proven, both scientifically, psychologically, that children don't listen.
Of course.
Children emulate. Children do what they see.
I agree.
So you can tell your child all day long, do X, don't smoke, for example. Don't watch TV. But if their proximity, which is your most influential individuals in your life, is the childhood folks around you, which is typically your parents, if you have your parents. And so by proximity, kids pick up subconsciously the behavior of the parents. They're not listening to what you're saying, they're watching. So don't watch TV, but you, the parent, is sitting all day watching TV.
I agree.
So for you just observing your moms, even though you don't know, she's teaching you by proximity, which is the best teacher ever.
I agree. I want to throw something in to even do that. Like, I remember she never, again, mind you, she never talked to me about these things. Even when the authorized user.
She's just doing it.
Yeah, she's just doing it. So even the authorized user, which we'll touch more.
Hey, shout out moms, by the way, man.
So,
you was a badass.
She added me as an authorized user on one of her cards, and I never even knew it. I seen the credit card come in the mail. She cut it up and just said, hey, this is not for this is for your benefit.
What is an authorized user? Explain to the audience.
To break down the authorized user. So whenever you have a credit card, which a lot of people don't notice, whenever you have a credit card, you can add somebody on as an authorized user. What an authorized user is, and it's super simple. It's basically giving somebody your credit age on your credit card. and your credit limit. So if you got a $20,000 credit card per se, right, and you own that credit card 11 years, if you add that person on as an authorized user, they will get the 11 years of history and they'll get the $20,000 credit limit. And you can do this for a child.
From what age?
But you can do this from the time your child get a Social Security. So from the time they come out the womb, you can add your child on your credit and build their credit history.
And I mean, being in rooms that we've been into,
right,
and seeing so many young, and I'm sorry to use the race card
right
here in the US, but it is real. In the real estate new development, we've met 19-year-old white kids.
100%.
Indians, Asians, Mexicans.
Agree.
And this is the game they're playing. Their parents are the one setting them up
cultivating
for success through credit.
Right.
And then by the time they're 18, whatever, they have great credit score.
Right.
They know exactly how to use credit cards, how to leverage it.
All right. That's how
they understand what credit is.
All right.
They have read at least one financial literacy book. And so I think what your mom did right there should be normalized within. And when I say Black, I'm talking about Africans and African Americans. This is a global thing. Because I know for a fact, as African, because my parents are originally from West Africa, I have never had a financial literacy conversation within our household. I've never heard of it. I have a lot of nieces. I have a 5-year-old daughter myself and other kids, but it's not a conversation. So if at that age you can already start setting up, and here in the US, like, you can't do without credit. What does Jay-Z says in his song? If you want to know how to control and own everything, credit is how they did it. It's something that is meant to be leveraged.
Yes.
Fantastic. So obviously proximity. Shout out to moms again, guys.
Right. Shout out.
So from there, you have great credit. Then you never messed up the credit, but you just got into some situations to where maybe you're hanging out with the wrong people. I heard you say you were in house arrest, which most people can relate to. Maybe most people that still live in bad environments. Because I remember when I met you, the first thing you told me is, I just want to get out of this environment. Because like, you're doing the right things.
Right.
You're getting out of the neighborhood. You're going to all these networking events. You're meeting people way older than you that are executing in real estate. You're trying to figure things out. You're closing wholesale deals. How did you go from that to now understanding leverage? Like, how can I leverage this in my business, right? But maybe let's go even a little bit back. You talked about putting somebody as an authorized user. Okay. Once that's done, talk to the people that maybe have right now bad credit or don't have credit at all. Where do you even start? And then what is your individual behavior should be around your personal profile to make sure you keep it right to, if ever you need funding as a business, your personal profile the first time is going to play a big role. Can you go a little bit into that?
First, I'm going to touch on the credit repair. So anybody that's needing credit repair, because the thing is, when I first started, I never had to do credit repair. Right, just because I set it up from the beginning, and I'll touch bases on that and explain my story with Marv, which kind of wrapped everything together. But even with the individual who's looking to do credit repair, go out and find you a specialist. Same money as a Starbucks coffee, man. Go get save $1,000 to $2,000.
Most people think it's expensive. The range is around what, 1,000. We're talking about if you want to fix your credit. What is a really bad credit score?
Just to kind of break down the credit scale for people super quick. So anything under a 650 typically will put you in that bad credit range. Now, some people say that's okay, but typically if you're under that 650 credit range, you're gonna have to go through additional verification for stuff. And people don't even realize what your credit is used for. Like, I know even when I first came in, I didn't realize you use credit to get sometimes for apartment. They look at your credit for apartment building. They look at your credit for cars, mortgages. So people just have to understand, anything over there at 650, you're pretty much putting yourself in that credit range where you got to go through additional verification. So I tell people, listen, as long as you can get that thing over 650 and keep it over 650, that's where you want it at.
So maintain it.
So maintain it.
So that's where knowing how to use like the utilization, and you're going to go through that. What does that mean? But by the way, the website I told you earlier, that's how it classifies the neighborhood in the US.
Oh, really?
So if a neighborhood is 650 or less, is classified as poor, bad, / whatever.
There you go.
If it's over 650, like the neighborhood that we just left in Alpharetta, Georgia, the average person there have 750 plus.
It goes to
you understand? Anyway, going back to that, right? And the reason I keep bringing up the US, bro, is because obviously both me and you, we have a wide range of audience.
Right.
You have obviously the immigrant that came here that don't even understand this thing. Recently with the community, what I realized is all the people we're helping get funding is a lot of them have been in the US for 10, 12, 15 years, you name it. They don't know what credit means. They just know I need to go to the bank and the bank offered them a credit card of $400, whatever.
Okay.
They've misused it to pay bills, like you just said, because they don't understand the power of it. And a lot of them, because of the, baggage culturally that we come with, which is a bad relationship with money overall.
Right.
And then debt. They look at credit as debt instead of something to use to give you access to something.
I agree.
Okay. So that's the reason why I keep bringing that up. So just for you guys that maybe you're even though you've been here for a while, but you're an immigrant. I mean, he also has a Haitian family side of things.
Background.
He's also African American, right? I'm originally from Africa. I grew up in Belgium, so we have a wide range of audience. If you don't even know what credit means or is meant to be, it's just a way of the bank looking at your financial behavior on paper, basically.
Agreed.
All right. And seeing if you're somebody trustworthy to give capital to.
Right.
Or you're somebody not trustworthy to give capital to.
Right.
Same thing with an apartment. They look at your profile.
Right.
And then they see if you're somebody worth renting. That is most likely to pay or not pay.
I agree.
So it's the history. The same way if I were in Guinea right now, third world country, let's say, for example, the banking system doesn't exist. If I go to the neighborhood and I need money to start my business, I'm going to go to an individual that has money. If I go to that individual is probably going to go around the neighborhood asking, hey, is Mamadou somebody who pays back their debt?
Yeah.
And pays back on time and is financially disciplined? It's the same exact thing. So going back to your point now, so obviously you don't want to be below 650 ideally, always and up.
Agreed.
If you can be in the 700s and up, you're always...
The possibilities are endless.
Endless, right?
Yeah. Okay. Once you've cracked the 680, I always say, this is where you get to the point where in the bank's eyes, and I always tell people, look at your credit score like your trustworthy score. Okay. Like if I leave $1 on the table, can I trust Mamadou not to touch the dollar, right? Yeah. That's kind of what your credit score is to the banks. So that's how they look at your trustworthy score. It's like, okay, if I were to give this guy 100,000, what is his likelihood to pay me back that 100,000? Because the banks are just in the business of lending out money. And
that's how they make money.
That's how they make their money. So it's the same thing. So a lot of times when you start to go ahead and crack that 680 to 700 mark, people don't understand that. A lot of people, this is the negative connotation we get with credit, is a lot of people want to focus on the personal side of things, right? They want to go do certain things in their personal name. They want to go get cars and go get mortgages and get these things. And it's bad to go get that type of debt on your personal because your EIN, right? Your EIN basically is when you first get born in the United States or you come out the womb as a baby, they give you an EIN. This is basically just a bank account number. Right? Okay,
so we have the EIN. Is there a difference between the EIN and the SSN?
Yes, sorry. So you have your social security number.
Okay, so when you're born, you're given a social security number, which is the SSN. Yeah, that's what you're referring to.
Correct.
Okay, go back to the point. What
so you have a social security number, which is the SSN. This is basically just a big major bank account number. You're just a bank account number to the U.S. Okay. A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, that's why I told you guys that you gotta get this book. Yeah, you have to get this book because unless there's no way you can know how to play a game if you don't understand the rules. I know. If I want to play basketball, I have to understand the rules of basketball because you can't change the rules. You cannot come here and say, hey, even though I'm in the U.S., this is what happens to a lot of Africans that live here. They're here physically, but mentally they're still trapped back home. Agreed. Because they're like, no, I don't care about this credit thing. Or an uncle that have been here for a long time didn't have a good behavior with their credit cards because they didn't know any better. They project that fear of them that already burnt their fingers on the fire and they tell you stay away from it. Agreed. But the rules of the game have been established. Yep. The U.S. says you are meant to be a corporation through that number. Right. And then if you operate as a corporation, there's so many doors open to you. Agreed. But if you keep operating as Stephen Blow, you will be limited forever. Not only you, but your family tree. Agreed. Right? So with that being said, if you walk into the bank as an individual, what you're saying is if I'm borrowing money for me as Mamadou Diallo, then I'm borrowing through my SSN. Yeah, your social security number. Okay. You borrowing through your social security number is setting yourself up to failure. And also, too, this, like Mamadou is touching on the point of, this is the game that the banks like to play, right? That it's not set up, the system is not designed for you as a person with a social security
to be able to ever win.
Absolutely.
It's the same reason. So utilization is what we're going to talk on, a little bit later on in the podcast, right, for you guys. But for the Social Security number, when you're going in and you're taking out these debt on your personal name, right, this stuff is reflecting on your personal credit. You don't even know by messing that part of your Social Security up. You're just allowing yourself not to have access to $150,000 on the business side, right? And two, once you mess that, like credit repair, once you mess your credit up, it's super, super, super tough to fix it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what is the most common habits that have people mess up their credit?
100%. So just lack of financial literacy. I say the biggest thing. Most of you guys know I always use this example. You see me use this a lot when I talk to clients. A lot of times you'll go into a store, right, and Macy's will offer you a card.
Yeah, that's major here.
Yeah, major error.
I've spent 17 years of my life in Europe. I have never walked into a store in Europe.
Yeah.
And been sold freaking credit cards. It was like mind-boggling to me when I came to the US. Is every store I go to, they're begging me to take a credit card.
Right.
So that's a trap, you're saying?
It's a trap. And that is one of the things I like to start off with to kind of explain the mindset, right? People don't understand that when you're offered these credit cards, because you're going to get a bunch of credit card offers. They do it all the time. You get in the mail, hey, you just got $2,000. You have to apply for this card online.
They advertise it. That tells you guys the bank want to give out money because that's how they make money. They're begging you if you have, they'll give it to you, okay?
And U.S. debt, like credit card debt is the number one debt in the U.S.
Yeah.
Like, really. Yeah, just kind of breaking down that point. So one of the things about it is like even going to the store and people offering the credit cards, a lot of times people take those thinking that that's a free $2,000, which is something we all been a victim of, even my grandmother. So they'll take those cards thinking that it is free money, not understanding that you have to pay that back. They'll take that debit card for $2,000, swipe it, and not understand that, okay, we're just extending you a credit that you do have to pay back. And that's the number one thing I see people fall for. That's the first one. It's just not understanding, not having financial literacy to understand that when you're swiping a credit card, that is money that you have to pay back.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. It's not free money.
It's not free money.
Even if it's 0%, there's always a time limit.
Always a time limit.
Like the 150 you help people get on average per LLC,
right,
is only meant to be 0%.
Yep.
All the way to 12 months.
12 to 18.
Up to 12 or 12 to 18 months. So you're meant to leverage that capital, put it to work.
Yep.
Ideally in a vehicle that can not only give you back your principal that you've invested, but also profits.
Agreed.
In less than 12 or 18 months.
Yes.
So you have time to pay back.
Yep.
The banks is actually your best friend if you think about it. If you really behave, because once you pay it off, it ups your borrowing power. You can go back now and ask them more money. But so going back to that, so are you saying if somebody walk into a store and they get offered those cards, let's say somebody right now that has really bad credit but don't have credit at all, they shouldn't touch it.
Don't touch it.
Those are the worst cards to have.
Those are the very worst cards.
So where do you start? Which cards do you start with when you're building your individual profile?
So I always tell people go in when you're going to build your cards, go get save and secure cards, right?
Save and secure.
Yeah, we call them secured credit cards, right? They are still the lowest totem pole and everything. It's pretty much where you use your own money as collateral for the credit card. So that you go into a bank, to keep it very simple for the people just watching, you go to the bank, you take $500, you give the banker $500, and you say, I want to get a secured credit card. They're going to give you a credit line for $500. So they're going to say, hey, I got a credit card with $500 that you can swipe. As you swipe that card, make sure that you pay it back. In the event that you ever run into any trouble, because life hit everybody where you can't pay it back, you have the $500 that you gave them up front, they can use to pay down the card. That will build your credit very smoothly.
So this is them testing you.
That's exactly.
Okay.
Right?
Okay, that's one way to do it, or there's multiple steps. Like you do that, then you do something else in order to build up your credit?
No, so that's one part of the one way. That's to kind of get you in. So typically when you're looking at credit and you're coming in, right?
Which bank, by the way, if you were to do that, which bank is best to do that with?
A bunch of different banks offer it. I would say always credit unions. If you're going to go to any banks, go build your, because credit unions are more relationship banks. Your big banks like Chase, Bank of America, you're just a number. You're just one number on thousands of people.
When you say small banks, give me an example.
Navy Federal, you can do Andrews, PenFed is another good one.
Okay.
So these are some of the banks.
I know some of those you do want to go through somebody in order to get you in, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, 100%. Like Navy Federal, that is military back. You have to do that, but of course, like I said, we have
we have all of that.
We have all those resources.
So then, so you do that, and then there's other steps you can take to. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Then you have what is called also like the people that have like, let's say somebody have 560, they've completely ruined their credit. Obviously, for that person, is just going and repairing the credit.
Correct.
What is the worst thing to have in your credit that is the most difficult to get rid of if like when you go to credit repair?
No, 100%. So I started from the bottom of the totem pole. Student loans are some of the hardest things to get off. The government,
which is the number one,
they're the number one
scam in the U.S.
Right. But yeah, student loans, I would say, are some of the toughest things to take off of your credit report.
Okay.
Dang near impossible without taking it to court sometimes and getting it removed. Which I told you, we do in-house credit repair. So if you guys like hit the link below, like I said, we can help you with that.
Absolutely.
But yeah, student loans will probably be some of the worst next to medical bills.
Medical bill?
Those things.
How about bankruptcy?
Bankruptcy, you can actually take bankruptcy off.
So student loans are worse than bankruptcy on your profile?
Yes.
Okay.
100%.
And another thing, right? So I noticed one distinction.
Yep.
Also, or were you going to say something?
No. I'll touch on that. I just wanted to let you guys know that the bankruptcy, right? The bankruptcy can always get removed. But student loans, if you start defaulting on student loans, it's always worse than bankruptcy because they're not gonna fight with you to let you take it off at all.
Oh, got it. You can't even take it off. Okay, so the only option for you those is to pay it off.
Yeah, you gotta pay those off. Like Yep.
Now, I was gonna ask you. I see you make a clear distinction one time because I observed you with the clients. Is most people confused. So we've had people that came in and they're like, oh, I do have 830 credit score.
Yes.
And then you go in, you look at their profile, and then you tell them, well, your profile is shit.
Right.
Even though you have a great credit score.
Correct.
If you were to walk into the bank right now, you wouldn't get funding, whether it be business or probably even personal.
100%.
Or get a car, or whatever the case may be. Like, explain the audience the difference between the score and then your profile. Like, your score, what should you have your profile to give you a great personal profile?
Great. So I like this question. I absolutely love this question. So a lot of times when I'm looking at people's credit score, you think because you have a 700 credit score is you're green. No, what people fail to understand a lot of times is when it comes to your credit score, the score alone does not matter. Banks don't want to see that. What banks want to see is you're a person capable of taking out debt multiple times and paying it back. And what I mean by that is this. I've seen people with 2 credit cards and pay the credit card on time that have an 800 credit score.
Got it.
The bank does not give a shit about that at all. They do not care. What they want to see is they will lend to a person who has a 720 credit score that has a car note, a mortgage that they're paying on time, 4 credit cards.
Okay.
Because it shows that this person has a good, something we call a credit mix. Okay. Right? This is just basically a mixture of a bunch of different things. Same things I just mentioned, car notes, mortgages, car loans. They don't want to see a person that got 4 credit cards on their credit report and you're making on-time payments. They want to see a mix of a bunch of different things. Those are what are important to the bank.
So there are loans that are more important than other loans, even though they're both loans. Yeah. So a car loan is more important, for example, than maybe a credit card that you've had from Chase of $2,000.
Yep.
But even though you're paying it up on time.
100%. Even though you're paying it on time. What's more important to the bank is just what I call, like I said, again, a credit mix. It's not necessarily the loan itself. It's just a mixture of a bunch of different loans. They don't want to see that you're a person that can pay back a credit card on time. They want to see that you're a person that can pay back 2 credit cards, a car loan, and a mortgage. Because all of those loan products all have different interest rates. They come from different companies. So it just shows that you can pay multiple different people back with different interest rates and everything. So it shows them that you're dealing with multiple people and you're paying back on time.
Yeah. I mean, guys, if we go back to the caveman time, this would be the equivalent of basically you going to the neighbor, asking for money, the wealthy one in the neighborhood, and him going to not just one person, but multiple different individuals that you've borrowed money from, and looking at your whole body of work, like you said, and them confirming. The same way if you were applying for a job, they want a reference. They want a referral, right?
Exactly.
Fantastic. So with that being said now, how do you, because I've heard you say also, if you don't have these loans, and obviously guys, you're supposed to leverage credit, I say leverage, to access capital to start a business.
I agree.
That's the whole idea. The whole system in the US is built for entrepreneurs, not workers. If you're a worker, you're an individual.
You have messed yourself up.
Exactly. If you're a business, you're a business. You can have a 9 to 5. Don't confuse the two.
Right.
You operating as a business is just paperwork.
Agreed.
The US is built on paperwork. So first thing first, we black people, because we don't like to read, that's the first part where we lose. Now, I've heard you one time say if you don't have those different mixed loans, you call them, okay,
Yeah.
on your personal profile, then what they can do is they can buy somebody else's history.
Right.
If, for example, a lot of people don't have somebody close proximity like your mom's
Right.
that is very disciplined.
Right.
But they can buy some. What did you call it?
Yeah, authorized user or trade line.
Okay, so you can buy trade lines. There you go. Can you expound on that? What does that mean? So if
100%.
I come to you right now, I have a profile, but you look at it and I only have 2 credit cards from, I don't know, Wells Fargo at $2,000 each.
Right.
And then you go, no, Mamadou, even though you have a 730 credit score, this is not good. The profile is not good.
Agreed.
Okay, first give us the 3 bureaus that you look up.
So there's 3 bureaus. There's TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian.
Okay.
These are the 3 bureaus that you're gonna go to. What we mean by bureaus are these are the big competitors that most of your banks institutions will go to. So if you go to get a loan from Chase or Wells Fargo, they're gonna go to one of these 3 bureaus to verify you're somebody that pays back. And to keep it in layman's terms,
they always go on all 3?
No, they always. So funny part, I'm glad you asked that. Depending on the actual product that you're getting, they will choose which one they go to. For example, Chase likes to go to TransUnion a lot, but they will go to Experian from time to time, depending. So again, they'll always go check one of these 3 bureaus, always, depending on the product you're using.
So all depend on when I walk into the bank as a company, not as a person,
company,
and I say, give me money. It all depends on, first, the bank I go to. Number 2, like, how do I respond to the questions and say I'm going to use the money for?
Right.
Or what industry of business I'm in.
All of that matters.
So, okay.
Yeah, all of that matters.
Okay, got it. So you have those 3 bureaus, and then you said somebody could buy trade lines if they don't have maybe anybody from the family that can add them as authorized users in those kind of cards. It's funny because I remember you getting a call from a big third-party company because you have great credit and a great profile, asking you to let them sell your trade lines, essentially. So explain in layman terms, like literally, what does that even mean?
Perfect. So there are people out here who have credit cards, right? Who have history on their credit cards, and I'm keep it very basic. I mean, when I say history, they've owned the card, they applied for the card, got approved for it, and maybe they've had the card 8 years, right? So that's 8 years of credit history, right, that they have on their profile from that one card. On top of that, when you first get approved, they're gonna give you something called a credit limit. So whether that's 10,000 to 15,000. To keep it also to kind of tell people the most that banks literally like to lend on the actual personal side is 25,000 per credit card. That just for people to know, but that's a credit limit. Just however much they lend you on the card. So basically, you have people who have 8 years of history sitting on $25,000 just off of one credit card.
That's personal.
That's personal. This is on the personal side. Right. You can add somebody on your credit card as an authorized user. You can literally go into your bank. There's like 5 or 6 slots that you can do, and you can literally apply to have somebody added onto your credit card, and they will get that 8 years of history, and they'll get your credit limit immediately placed on their credit report. And you can charge people for this. People don't understand this is a whole business. There's people that go out here and get 10 credit cards just to sell those slots.
So you can generate cash flow. Basically, from just having a great behavior, financial behavior. If you do nothing
at all.
Because I know a lot of people like that. Have a great 9 to 5, have great credit, have great credit cards. Completely financially disciplined. What they don't know is they're trying to create businesses on the side. They're trying to start flipping shit on eBay. Because obviously most people in the US, even if you're earning $200,000 a year at a 9 to 5, most people don't have $500 in their savings account. That's just the reality of it, because we live in a consumption type of culture. People just consume. That's just the reality of it. But that's a business basically. So if I have that, I can generate cash flow.
Tons of cash flow and
from my behavior.
100%. And the thing is, people don't understand, you just having great financial behavior, the higher those ages are, the higher those credit limits, the more you can charge. I've seen people charge $1,000 for one slot. You get 5 slots per.
So meaning if my car is 7 years old and yours is 10, yours have more value even than
yours. Let me even give you an example. I'll literally give you an example of somebody. There's people that have Navy Federal cards, right? Those things have $25,000 credit limits. They've been open 15 years. For each, that's 5 to 10 slots to come to a Navy Federal card. You can charge $1,000 per slot. That's extra $10,000 you can make every 3 months.
Exactly.
Just having great financial credit.
Yeah.
I mean,
While you're sitting there trying to wonder what kind of business you can start, guys,
Right.
you can start selling your trade lines, for example.
Right.
But also you can buy, right?
Yep.
That means you can buy. So if I don't have a great profile, but I'm trying to start a business and I need capital, and now we're going to get into the business side of things, bro. So I can come to you and go, I want to buy trade lines. And I see you look at people's profiles and go, hey, we have to add 2 trade lines or 3. And then after that, you have to go back to the bank and get a high limit cars.
Right.
One thing that I've seen consistently within the African community, and this comes from, again, cultural scarcity mindset and fear of money.
Right.
They come here, even though their behavior is great, like they're not splurgers or anything like that, they'll get a credit card of 10K, 9K or whatever, especially the ones a little bit on the older side, 50s and up. They'll have a 10,000 credit card or 3 of them, and they'll just get scared and take it back to the bank.
No.
And I remember last time you being on one of Clancy's, behind.
Yeah.
Like, don't ever do that.
Right.
Can you explain? Because you just mentioned the age.
Yes.
And people don't understand that even if you're just using a very small amount on those credit cards, especially the high limit ones. You told me high limits is from what amount?
Yeah, from 5,000 up is what we consider high limit.
Anything from 5,000 and up. You should always keep the account, you said, open.
Always.
So, number one, explain to me, what is an account?
Perfect. So, what an account is, it's 2 different things. So, we have trade lines and we have primaries. It's actually something I was going to touch on as well.
Okay.
So, with your trade lines, these are credit cards, authorized users. So, if you're added to somebody's credit card as an authorized user, still call it trade line. Okay. That's what we call it. So, those are one category, just credit cards and trade lines being added on. The next is something called primaries. Primaries are your car loans, your mortgages, your personal loans. So if I go to a bank and I say, hey, I need $10,000 to fix my house, they'll give me $10,000. That's a personal loan.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And those all come with their own different interest rates and terms and different things like that. So those are what we call accounts. To break it down, a combination of trade lines and primaries is what make accounts. So if I have 2 credit cards and 1 mortgage, that gives me 3 accounts.
So it appears as accounts.
Yeah, it appears as accounts on your credit.
So instead of giving back the card, if I give it back, that account now becomes closed. And you don't want that.
You do not want that at all. So I always tell people, even if you got a $2,000 credit card, right, and you've had it for 8 years, do not close that card down, even if it's not high limit.
Right.
Because what people fail to understand is there's 2 things that banks always look at when they go to look at your credit report. The 2 things are your history, so how long you've had debt, how long you've been paying debt. Yeah. Right?
That's the longer the better.
Yeah, the longer the better. Okay. So keeping that card open will just show that you've been paying 8 years of debt. Okay. They want that. That's the first thing. So they look at the year, the history on your credit report. The second thing is that what we referred to earlier, which will be your credit mix. So how many credit cards do you have? How many car loans? How many mortgages? Right? Which, again, if you come to us, we have ways of manufacturing that so that you don't got to go out and go take out a $30,000 car loan to achieve the same thing. We can achieve the same thing with $1,000.
Right.
So
because there's too many tool guys in bad debt right now, right?
100%.
Okay. So if I do the trade lines, get the trade lines, then go back and get the high limits. And now, obviously, like we said, guys, now you want to operate as a business. Because the whole goal, again, this is a word that everybody, I think, should write in like capital letters and put it in front of you every day at home. The U.S. is built on a system called also leverage.
Yes.
So that means once you build your profile, you're supposed to leverage it
to go get money.
And now go set up a business. The easiest one and simplest one to create the first time, at least, there's multiple different ones, guys. This is why you got to research why you are a corporation through SSN, through Social Security number.
Right.
And so because the U.S. itself operates as a corporation, you should always move as a corporation, not as an individual. So you're supposed to use that personal profile, then basically lend it to your business.
Yes.
So the easiest one to create is an LLC. We can help you with that as well. And I know we talked about how you can even buy, because, you know, banks love to see also LLCs that have 2 years or older. You can buy like an Age Corp, is called. So it's an LLC that already have 2 years, basically sitting on the shelf, waiting for you to buy it. And then when you walk into the bank to get the funding for your business, because correct me if I'm wrong, but the banks will always give you way more capital as a business than as an individual.
100%.
I'm going to repeat that, guys. Banks will always give you way more capital as a business. What is a business on paper?
A business on paper is somebody that has an EIN, right? You go and get an EIN. You set up a point where you have your own business phone number. Because a lot of times people too don't understand just you going to apply for LLC doesn't make you a business.
Exactly.
Right? You have
It's how do you set it up?
How you set that. Having an EIN number, having a business address, having a business phone number, a business email. All these things is what you need to create separation between you and your business and make your business an actual business. Right? And it's super easy to do. You can do this for less than $600-700, man.
That's crazy.
If you told me back when I first started, I could take $2,000 and go get $150,000, which this is all it requires to set up your business and to set up your personal profile.
100%, guys. If somebody had told me this the first 12 months of me starting real estate, because I did it the hard way, and you know we talk about this all the time. You did too, because we listen to the wrong advice of people just selling courses.
Yes,
we did the wholesaling thing, which takes way longer. In terms of if we just knew about credit.
I agree.
So if I knew about credit my first year, our business company would probably be like 7 years ahead right now, because we have access to all the capital. That's why it's capital. Most businesses that go out of business, moms and pop shops, moms and pop businesses, is lack of funding.
Always capital.
That's really it.
Always capital.
So the reason I emphasize on the word paper is because when we talk company, people think, oh, I have to like go work and then set up this big fancy website. Guys, when I literally say here in the US, everything is paper.
Yes.
This whole system just works on paper. So if your paper is set up correctly, so your LLC is all the documents. Is your document set up correctly?
Yes.
Is a professional address, phone number? This is all paper. This is not something you're working for.
Right.
And me and you spend which most people do, spend more than $2,000 in Chipotle and coffee every single day outside.
Yes.
So you can spend on that for yourself to change your family tree. Most importantly, guys, you have to like literally, one of the things that I love that Steve does at 23 is that it is not just helping you access the funding and fix your credit and build up your credit and boost your credit score. Is he also in the back end educate you, give you a whole course on how to maintain it now, how to behave, how to understand the difference between the score and the profiles, how to read when you're looking at the different bureaus. Like for example, if you use a website like My Score IQ, how do you read that and always go in the back end and make sure your profile on paper is always greatly presentable.
100%.
Yeah.
For me, that's another thing I see in the credit industry, and I like to talk about this. A lot of times we go and teach people how to get their credit score to a certain point and everything. Maintenance is everything.
Yes.
Because people don't understand, once you set that personal profile up, don't touch it anymore.
Yes.
Something you said earlier that I love to touch on the topic on. The U.S. does not reward a person who just has good personal credit. It does not reward. That's not how the system works. It only rewards people who understand how the system operates. And even if you're not a person who wants to start a $2 million business, it still is a benefit to you to still go and get your personal right and leverage on the business side. Because you mess up one thing on that personal, it can set you back for life.
Yeah.
But if you can do that same thing on your business, even a mistake on the business side, you can literally, I've seen people go get $150,000 on the business side, mess it up, file bankruptcy on that business, which you'll get off into that, and go reopen another business. But the benefit to them was it never affected their personal.
Exactly.
So you never put your personal in the hole. You never put Steve or Mamadou in the hole.
Always, because you can create endless different companies and name them Chihuahua Corporation.
Whatever you want
to do. It's built on paper. I mean, the fractional banking itself, the Federal Reserve itself, is built on paper, guys.
100%.
That money they're giving you don't even exist. It's just because your paperwork is right. You came in and you're financially literate and you spoke a certain language. Well, they gave you money. Right. Now, what you do with the money, that's also, and we're going to get into that, right? Because we've had so many different people that came to us and they're like, well, one of my number one issues with people that helped me with funding before is, even though I got pennies, which is 10,000, 20,000, anything 30,000 below, guys, like there's not much you can do with it. Right. That was great, but then when I got the money, anxiety and stress came on me, and I'm like, why? Well, I don't know what to do with the money. Right. Which is the case for so many people. Also, is as an LLC or as a company, guys, there's so many different things. You have LLCs, you have C corps. Now, obviously, all these things have different tax implications. So, but for 99.9% of people, the best way to start is with an LLC. It's the cheapest. Don't try to get too legal and listen to people that talk about trust and all these things. Those things are great, but it's once you making shitload of
make the money first.
You make the money first. Don't try to be legal when you're still poor. You spending all this money with attorneys and all this stuff to protect what?
Right.
You don't have nothing in your bank account. There's nothing to protect. If somebody were to attack you today, there's nothing for them to take. So let's keep it simple. An LLC. So with that being said, bro, so if I come in, obviously you do all of that, then we set up the LLC. Now let's talk about where people, and we're going to do a whole other episode again, guys. This is like just starting. So you guys let us know in the comments, maybe what other points you want us to cover next time and go deeper into it. But once I get the capital, and most people, like I said, they don't know what to do with it. Where do you advise typically? Obviously, guys, we're not financial advisors. We're not your legal financial counselors. You consult your own counselors, but typically which vehicles you've seen, if people put the money into it, they're able to, make money, get back their principal, make some profits, and then be able to even have more capital and keep it going.
I always tell people what you want to go for when you're first starting and leveraging your credit is those quick cash flow type businesses. So what I mean by that is something you can do, get a return in 2 to 3 months, and it's super quick return on capital. So of course you see your Toro gurus and everybody with your Toros. I'm not going to talk about that because I just how I feel on it, but okay, like I've seen some people do Airbnb arbitrage.
Yes.
So I've seen some people go out and buy furniture, and this is
what is arbitrage? Airbnb arbitrage.
Yeah, so Airbnb arbitrage is basically where you take a person who already has a property, they own it in a good high area like Miami or Atlanta or Dallas, Texas. You go to that landlord and you just offer to say, hey, listen, you renting this property out for $2,000 a month. I can give you an extra $500 a month in your pocket if you allow me to put this on Airbnb and rent it out to other guests. So now,
you're not buying the home.
You're not buying the home.
You're not taking loans to buy a home. So that capital you got at 0% for 12 months would allow you to go ahead and furnish the property, design the property, and then you can put it on Airbnb and generate high cash flow. Because guys, just logically, if Steve gives me $100,000 and say, Mamadou, you have 12 months to put this money to work, that makes me fund manager on that money for 12 months. And we're trying to see if I'm a good, in the same sit, it's just maybe at a smaller level, but it's the same sit that, what is that old stock trader? Not trader, but
Warren Buffett.
Warren Buffett.
Yeah, right.
All Warren Buffett does is manage people's money.
That's it.
If you make good use of the money, you multiply it or whatever, you can come back, I give you more.
I agree.
It's the same idea. So if the bank gives you a 12 months loan, because it's not free money, but you have free money for 12 months at 0% at all. Now, mind you, the way the banks makes money is if you pay the interest. So they do want you to go over the 12 months. Let's be honest. If you go over the 12 months, they benefit from it because now you're carrying the interest. But you cannot go into then take that capital and throw it in a business that will take longer than 10 months at the most, I would argue, to get not only your principal. When I say your principal is the money that you invested, plus your profits back, you pay off the bank and you keep your profits, and now you go back to the bank and you say, give me more money because I just showed you I can pay more. There's nobody that have more money than the bank.
No.
So going in with the intention of taking money from the bank but not paying them is completely dumb. Second thing, if you get these funds, the other day we were talking about this dumb guy that took the money and go and bought a Lamborghini.
Yes.
Some dumb shit, right? Or you go to Louis Vuitton, you splurge because you think this is free money. No, it's not free money. And now it sets you back for life if you go over the month. So some of the vehicles, I would argue, that are way better to put it at, and I'm biased on this, but first thing first, I'll put real estate first. I'll put real estate first. So you can either, like you said, arbitrage. You create an LLC, you rent the property from a landlord, and is your LLC renting it? And you don't want to do like traditional rentals. It's like Airbnbs, midterm rentals, traveling nurses. We have so many different videos on this channel about all these different topics. Second thing is something like a fix and flip.
I was just about to touch on it.
A fix and flip, how long do a fix and flip takes?
Yeah, you can get in and out of a fix and flip anytime with 3 to 6 months.
Exactly.
Yeah, real quick.
At the most with the delays, 7 months, because it does happen. Third thing would be the baddest thing you can do ever is to find some dirt. Build a new development. So building a single family, ideally your first one should be on the luxury side of things because the profit margins are way bigger. So you can find a land. So you use those 0% credit card debt, identify a land, It's not really debt financing because it's 0%.
Right.
Identify land, put it under contract, use that money to secure the land. Then the lender that will lend you the construction will use that land and your paperwork that you, once you have your stamp from the city,
Yep.
that you can build as collateral to fund you for your construction.
Right.
And that also takes about, I don't know, 7-9 months.
Yep.
Right?
Total.
Total.
Yeah.
And that's with the delays included. And the profit margins are way bigger than on fix and flips. On a fix and flips, on average, you're looking to make 10 to 12% net profits after all your expenses. On a new development, you're looking to make 20 to 25% net.
Yeah.
Big difference, guys. Big difference, right?
Big.
And the reason I'm saying that vehicle to me is the best deal, it is because your capital is secured against something tangible.
I agree.
Against something tangible. I've seen so many people. The first logical thing is only get your money into something you understand.
I 100%.
Now,